Lessons from past pandemics, reasons why so many are at risk from avian flu to begin with. Flu and the immune system. Influenza, flu, strikes every year and afflicts millions. Under normal circumstances, flu is not considered a general public health risk. Of course, any disease must be taken seriously for two reasons. First of all, any disease, including flu, can become dangerous through complications. But let's also understand the far more important issue with regard to flu, and not just avian flu, a broken bar, but disease in general. Every flu is a problem primarily because our immune system gets compromised through life's stresses. Put bluntly, flu is caught by people because their immune system is not functioning well. Immune system dysfunction and weakening occurs from constant stress, constant threat of danger, constant deprivation of nutritional needs, and constant exposure to vicissitudes of life. Flu, even deadlier strains such as avian flu, can be the result. Specifically, flu impacts us due to an underactive immune system. This is true of many diseases such as cancer, hepatitis B and C, TB, strep, shingles, as well as flu. Other disease conditions are the result of an overactive immune system. What makes this an issue of late is the fact that only recently has science begun to understand the immune system, its complications, its sheer power to fend off disease conditions, and its power to aid in the healing process. Remember that as we introduce the potential of avian flu and pandemics of the past. To understand the avian flu threat, we need to understand flu pandemics of the past. Flu epidemics have been explosive and unusually deadly. In past centuries, flu probably spread so fast due to humans and animals living in close proximity. As you probably know, avian flu is a complex disease mutated from flu that kills birds. But avian flu has mutated successfully to strike human life. Close proximity of animal and human life allows for such mutations to develop and spread. Flu can spread like wildfire. The pandemic flu of 1580 began in Asia, spreading to all continents in less than a year. The flu engulfed all of Europe in less than 6 months. That's the problem with flu breakouts. Flu pandemics hit like the proverbial flash flood. A highly contagious flu virus can hit populations that have little or no specific antibody immunities to the disease, infect a quarter of the population, outstrip societal response capability, disrupting societal health and economy. The fear today is that avian flu will strike suddenly and will spread globally in a matter of mere months. There were 3 flu pandemics of the 20th century. They are well documented as to origin, spread, and impact. Those flu pandemics occurred in 1918-19, 1957-58. and 1968-69. The flu pandemic of 1918-19 killed upwards of 40 million people. No doubt, society did not have the tools nor understanding to stop the plague. However, if ever there was an argument for immune debilitation, it's war weariness. Almost every author who writes about this flu pandemic notes the fact the world was at war. But that was not a mere footnote. It was a major contributor to society's incapacity to restrain, much less stop the flu plague. War brings unique circumstances, to say the least. War brings a strain to everything, including the immune capacity of the survivors. If flu occurs in compromised immune systems, war guarantees the stress and deprivation which is often the prelude to plague. Soldiers live in horrid conditions and return to a disrupted life, but the effect on their immune system follows them into peacetime and plague. Soldiers live in horrid conditions and return to a disrupted life, but the effect on their immune system follows them into peacetime and plague. Loss of loved ones brings its stresses to the emotions, which impacts the immune system. Constant anxiety for soldiers and loved ones, even though they return safely, brings its emotional traumas and immune system depletion. Loss of hygienic conditions weakens resistance and breeds viral and bacterial conditions. Depression economy brings poverty and its consequences to human quality of life. Uncertainty of safe living conditions, bombing, terrorism, battle, mob actions, during war takes its own toll on the body. Disrupted economies, making recovery long, difficult and uncertain, work hours longer and work conditions harsher, pay less, crime, destruction, barbarism frightening or actual, whole economies perish, trade and commerce uncertain, political uncertainties, peace often brings more severe dislocation and hardship. This was especially the case after World War I. All populations suffer nutritional deprivation, with few exceptions. When flu strikes after such conditions, scientists often misjudge the fact that the victims, deemed healthy, really were compromised terribly throughout the war and peacetime consequences. The generation, which was victimized by the Spanish flu of 1918 to 1919, was in the age range of 15 to 35, a broken bar, the very age which includes soldiers, single parents, factory workers, teens called upon to assume unusual responsibilities on the home front, workers in their prime, needed on all fronts, medical and other service personnel exposed to a constant need for their services. Thereafter the war physical letdown is almost reminiscent of what happens to people after particularly long periods of stress. They fall prey to flu, colds, and infection. Why the flu? To answer that question, consider the physical impact upon athletes from their workouts. It is now known that after a heavy workout, whatever other benefits accrue to the body, there is one clear drawback. The oxidized radicals thus formed take the body several days to get over, leaving the body open to radical damage and some internal harm. New research suggests glyconutritional supplementation taken before, during, and especially after workouts helps the body get over the radical burden in a matter of hours, not days. Now, if recent research shows that athletic stress takes days to get over, often leaving damage to organs and tissues in its wake, especially if it is a habitual practice, why are we surprised at the massive flu fallout following the First World War, a war which was worldwide in its scope, as was the flu pandemic which followed it? Perhaps, before we consider avian flu in the second article, we should realize there is strong scientific testimony that recognizes glyconutrition is a way to prepare and deal with the onset of deadly flu and potentially other pandemic possibilities. Read the following testimony before Congress when doing further research on flu, avian or otherwise. In instances of unusual, epidemic, or virulent infectious agent exposure, glyconutrient supplementation has been found effective for enhancing general immune functions and defense. When supplied at higher levels than available in nature, sugars needed for cellular synthesis can take innate defense systems to a much higher level that are effective against infectious agents.